Welcome to the Ally Program podcast with our segment Wheelin with Dylan, and I'm excited because we have a special type of segment today. We don't have one guest, we have two very special guests with us. We have JB in Jacksonville and Jake in St. Louis. Thank you guys for joining.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. If you don't mind introducing yourselves to everybody, just talking about your background, where you're from, what's going on. Maybe JB, can we start with you?
Yeah. So I'm JB Sainer. Been with Numotion as a cath rep for I want to say 5 years now, and started off with Wheeler's Medical Supply several years ago. We were acquired by Numotion, so I've kind of been in the catheter medical sales realm for quite a while now. Company I worked for before Wheelers was actually started and owned by a friend of mine with a spinal cord injury. So I've been around spinal cord as far as business goes. Been injured with a spinal cord injury for 19 years now, which is crazy to say. And located, like you said, here in Jacksonville, Florida, and that's kind of the short of it.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you for that intro. And Jake?
Yeah, I grew up in the St. Louis area. Been with Numotion for 4 months now, so still pretty new. Yeah, been really enjoyable so far. Before I did this, I was pretty into wheelchair rugby. Was a big thing for me, so that was a big part of my life doing that. Then that was done, and here I am.
Awesome. Cool. Well, thank you guys a lot for joining. I know know you both a little bit. Jake is newer. We were able to have some conversations, and JB, he does a lot he's in Jacksonville, like he mentioned. So Brooks Rehab is a big rehab there, and when I was doing outpatient there, I'd see him every once in a while, and around that time I was kind of interested in being a catheter rep myself, so I kept bugging the poor guy, and then he made a mistake of giving me his number one day, and then I kept texting him. But it's just funny looking back and kind of seeing how things go.
That's what you got to do, man. Whatever works.
Yeah, I'm really good at bothering people, so that wasn't an issue for me. I bothered JB, but now look at us. We're here on this podcast. When we started this Ally program, which has already been beneficial and something we're looking forward to impacting people's lives, which I'm excited about. But I want to talk to you both just in the fact that we have the same role of being what we call here at Numotion MSAM, which is a medical supply account manager. But in short, and what most people refer to as JB had said earlier, we're catheter reps in our respected area. So some of you might know already if you've listened to past podcasts. I'm in Tampa. JB's in Jacksonville, so we're like across the state, probably 4.5 hours or so. And then Jake recently, you actually recently moved, didn't you?
Yeah, I was in Alabama up until September this year, or September 25, I guess.
Cool. So we all have similar roles, but definitely different backgrounds and things to bring to the table. So I'd like to ask you both individually, what kind of brought you into this space and made you want to be a catheter rep? And I'm gonna ask Jake that, but also, and JB, if you don't mind adding, what I'm interested in is what has kind of driven you to do it for as long as you have and still maintained, and I've talked to you and I know this, maintained your joy and kind of passion for it.
Yeah, so should I start? I'll go first.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's good.
So I was actually looking to get into the ATP kind of side of things initially, and maybe servicing chairs. I really like working with my hands, so started out kind of in that aspect, and then talked to a friend of mine named Mike Klinowski. He's a DSO over in Colorado Springs. But I was talking to him, and he told me about this role, and it seemed really interesting, so I got into it through him. Reason I kind of wanted to break into this industry is like, as a wheelchair user, I don't know, I'm sure you guys have dealt with this too, but like having issues with a chair or having issues getting more catheters, or there's always something that comes up, but it's always a big pain. Like for me, I wanted to kind of be a part of making those types of things easier for other people. So getting catheters, getting parts for a chair, whatever, just all the stuff about wheelchair life that is difficult, trying to make that easier for other people was my big motivation for coming into this space.
Thank you, Jake, for kind of talking about your background there, and we're glad to have you here with us at Numotion, and I'm excited to be able to get to know you better. And JB, I know you talked about your background with how you kind of got into the catheter world, but how long have you been a catheter rep now? Around
10 years, maybe. Yeah, around 10 years.
Okay. So what's kind of helped you to keep your passion and doing it for this long and still enjoy it?
I think just naturally it's, the fact that I get to meet new spinal cord injury patients. It's always new. So not every spinal cord injury is the same. Everybody's got a different story. So for me, I'm getting to interact with people that are going through what I went through, almost 20 years ago. And it's, it's exciting for me to meet with people, even though, they're at their sometimes worst time of their life. I get to hear their story, tell them a little bit about my story, and just kind of see that affect them the way people's stories affected me when I first got injured. So that's been valuable for me to keep, meeting new people, hearing new stories, and trying to help out in a way that, I was helped out when I first got injured. So I think that's kind of what keeps the fire going for me, is unfortunately people still are having spinal cord injuries, and I'm able to go meet with them and provide some light at the end of the tunnel, hopefully.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, and trust me, and I'm sure people have told you, but guys like you really do make a big impact. When you first get hurt, and then down the road as well. That's kind of what got me into the catheter world a little bit as well, because the person who kind of helped me get set up with my supplies, like we do now, he was also my peer support, kind of my peer mentor. And like you said, I mean, you're kind of at your worst, maybe your lowest in your life, or at a rough time, or at least it seems like that in the moment, especially. But when you have someone like yourself, JB, who's been, hurt for about 19 years, I think you said, and have a great quality of life and a family, and you've done so much for yourself, it's good because it's like light at the end of the tunnel. It's good to kind of see that even when you first get hurt. So it's definitely, I'd say, a fun part of our job. Thank you for sharing that. And, I'm sure you've gotten to meet a lot of people over the years, JB, and just with this business and different things. And I know Jake and I as well, because of so many different things, including wheelchair sports. And just there's the spinal cord injury community, which you kind of find after you get hurt. Maybe it takes some time, but it's definitely out there. And locally, you're able to go maybe play some tennis and rugby, basketball, whatever, with one another. Jake, we'll start with you. How has the spinal cord injury community benefited you, and why do you think it's so important to have?
Yeah, I mean, it's been probably like the biggest difference maker for me. It was like I found wheelchair rugby right away. When I was in the rehab hospital, somebody came in and talked about it, and I was at a wheelchair rugby practice like 3 months after my date of injury. So really, really soon. Wow. And yeah, like just that community, having all those people around that have, like you were saying, been in a chair for 10 years or 20 years, or, all the frustrations and things that are going on in your life and things you're having to relearn how to do. Like they've all done it before. So it's somebody else to kind of bounce ideas off of. Hey, how do you get your chair in your car? Hey, how do you do this, that, or the other, whatever? How do you get on an airplane? How does this work? Which, like, I think it's really cool because, like, about the Ally program, because not everybody gets involved in wheelchair sports. I would say for me, like, that was number one for me, but this is kind of a good substitute because not everybody wants to go get beat up in a wheelchair rugby chair, you know? So I think that's a really cool aspect of Ally, is that you can kind of do that all virtually, but I got hurt before Ally was a thing, and wheelchair rugby did that for me, was just bouncing ideas off of other people that have been in this world for a long time and learning tips and tricks and just how life works afterwards. I think it's, like I said, been the biggest beneficial thing that I've done since my injury was getting involved in sports.
That's awesome. And JB, how about you? I'm sure you've had some cool experiences over the years.
Yeah, I mean, I got to piggyback on Jake there. I mean, for me, adaptive sports was the biggest value add for me when I got injured. I mean, I had great doctors, I had great therapists, family around me, all that stuff. But adaptive sports is kind of what molded me to be able to, move forward again after an injury. And it was something I really didn't seek out. I was lucky enough to have someone come talk to me about it and kind of press me to go check it out, and I was hooked after that. And it was wheelchair rugby as well for me, like Jake was saying. But yeah, I was kind of resistant to the whole thing, and I think a lot of people I meet are resistant to talking to somebody in a chair or being around somebody in a chair. And I was the same way. I mean, I tell people that story all the time, that I didn't really want to go hang out with a bunch of guys in wheelchairs. I had been athletic my whole life, and obviously my goal was to have a recovery and walk again, so I really didn't have an interest in that. But being nudged a little bit to go, see the sports, chat with the guys, it was the biggest value add that I had as a new injury. And it was holistic for me. So you got the sports aspect of it, you got the physical activity aspect of it, but it was also good for your mental, like, strength, your confidence. So really was able to get a lot of things from it that aren't just about the sport. Like Jake was saying, you're getting around guys who have already figured it out, and they're not like some taboo type of thing. They're just guys like us that had injuries. One day they were, able-bodied, and one day something happened and they had to kind of figure out how to move forward. So that was eye-opening for me, to realize, I wasn't different. They weren't different. And this was kind of my circle to move forward with. So that was huge. That was a huge springboard for me when I first got injured, was the adaptive sports community. Just a community in general that's kind of been through what you're going through.
Yeah, it's funny how it takes some of us like some time to kind of get there. Because I'm the same as you, JB. Like, Jake was 3 months after he got hurt, which is like super impressive. But I mean, I'm with you. I was super hyper focused on like therapy and maybe walking again and all that stuff. And I've been hurt, and I know you said it was crazy when you said saying 19 years. For me, it's crazy saying even 6 years. Like, I can't. It's just so weird. Like, I can't believe that. But I picked up my first sport like genuinely like probably a year ago, with tennis. I tried some other stuff out and met some cool guys and like basketball and all that stuff, but it didn't quite click. Like, I feel like I liked the people than almost the sport. The sport frustrated me more than it should have. You kind of like think about how it was maybe when you were able-bodied or whatever, and you kind of got to find what works for you. You guys found, like, it sounds like you both have played rugby. Jake, you kind of got into tennis recently as well. Is there any other sports and different things that you've played?
Yeah, so I've done, I've tried out quite a few, like you said. Like, I did sled hockey, but I don't have any trunk control, so I just flopped around on the ice for like a good half hour and then said, yeah, this isn't for me. Got in a track chair a couple times. So I've tried some things out, but rugby was the big one for me. And then maybe 2 years ago now, started getting into tennis. And yeah, it's quite a bit different than rugby. There's a lot more like fundamental learning that has to happen. So it's been challenging in a different way than rugby was. But yeah, it's been really enjoyable. So
It's less
and
physical, that's for sure.
absolutely, absolutely. But JB, you said like that you were an athlete
Have
before.
either one of you? Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I just had a question. So, like, I know for me, getting in that rugby chair and feel like I felt like an athlete again after my injury, and that was kind of like a good lesson to learn about, like, hey, you can still live a normal life. Um, so I was wondering if you had any like experience with that either, like having that, bring that athlete aspect of your personality back in, if that helped you out at all.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think initially it was just seeing it. Seeing guys when I got around the adaptive sports that they were athletic, they were competitive, that were they worked out. They looked athletic. They were independent. So for me, at my injury level, being a C5'6", I didn't jump into a rugby chair and immediately feel athletic again. It was kind of like a struggle just to get across the court or push a chair. So for me, that feeling took a while to kind of feel like within myself because I couldn't be the athlete. As a low point player, sometimes you don't feel like the athlete that you were before. You're kind of like I always say you're kind of like the offensive lineman of the team. You don't get the glory or the touchdowns or the interceptions. But it took time. I mean, that's how I built independence and strength. And I think as I got better at that position, comparatively speaking to other guys that were playing the same position, that's where you really started to feel like, you're gaining strength. You're, good at your position. You have an athletic aspect to it again. But I could see it, and that was enough for me. With seeing other guys who were, where I wanted to be, and that was again kind of like my springboard for everything, mentally, emotionally, physically. But yeah, takes a little. I think took me a little longer to feel like an athlete or athletic again, being a high level injury.
Yeah, no, and I think we're all like pretty. I mean, we're all kind of in, even as a medical sales rep, you kind of have to have this mentality. But like, I enjoy being competitive, and it's felt like something that I kind of missed for a little bit when I wasn't doing sports. I mean, I'm competitive in other ways. You can kind of be competitive with yourself in ways as well. You kind of set goals for yourself and do it, but it's different when you're kind of playing with other people. But I'm with JB though. Like at first, I just felt like, oof, this is tough. Like I couldn't like compete with anyone yet because I was so bad. Like even for example, like in tennis, you're holding the tennis racket while you're trying to roll around, and that's almost like tough enough. And then the ball comes, and you're trying to like time it up and get a good like it just there's a lot that kind of goes into it. And I'm still not great. I'm still like trying to get better at it. But then when you do kind of overcome that beginner like obstacles, it's kind of fun. Like, oh wait, hold on, we're actually rallying points here. I can actually get a win, so it's fun. It's cool that you guys had both experienced that as well. Have either one of you been able to do anything like skiing or anything like that before, or no?
I've tried water skiing a few times, which I enjoyed. Haven't done the snow skiing. Not a huge fan of cold weather, especially now with a little bit of lack of temperature regulation. But my wife is from up north, so I would imagine a ski trip adaptive ski trip at some point is on my horizon. But I've done the water skiing, which is pretty cool.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah, I
I've
haven't.
uh,
Being
I've
in
done
Florida,
both.
I'm surprised I haven't done the water skiing, and I have done the snow skiing. Oh, go ahead, Jake.
So I've done both. I've done the water skiing like two, maybe three times, and snow skiing once. It was cool. The water skiing beat me up too bad. Like you get tossed around on that behind that boat, beats you up pretty bad. So probably not something I'm going to pursue too much more. But they were both very cool and interesting for sure.
It's cool. Yeah, it looks fun. I always tell people that I only did the adaptive like snow skiing one time on one trip and did it like for like 2 or 3 days. And I will say it was like the most freeing experience I've had since I've been hurt. something about it. I don't even know how to put it into words, but when you're on the slope, I don't know, and you're just kind of, I would say in control, even though I didn't actually feel like I wasn't that much in control. But it felt very freeing. You know, you're out of your chair, and you're going down the hill, and you're just kind of like crisscrossing. It's pretty fun. But anybody kind of listening or watching, definitely encourage everyone, just try some stuff out. You know, whether it's a sport, get involved in the community. Spinal cord injury community that is near you. It's good for you mentally, good for you physically, and it's fun. It's good, nice to be competitive again. Hey, I'm Dylan from Wheelin with Dylan.
And I'm Leah with the CathCast. If you're listening to this, you are already part of the conversation, but there's a lot more to explore inside Numotion Medical Supply's Ally program.
And all our podcasts live there too. So if you want to catch past episodes or get the earliest access to new ones, that's where to go.
And the podcast is really just one piece. Inside Ally, there's a full library of articles, webinars, and short videos focused on bladder health, catheter use, and building routines that work for you.
It's also a great place to see how others are navigating things day to day. Real setups, real experiences, and things you might not always hear in a clinical setting.
And a big part of that is the community forum. There are sub-forums for different experiences and stages of life. So whether you're just getting started or have been doing this for years, there's a space for you.
You can ask questions, share what's worked for you, or just read and see how others are handling similar situations. It's a really easy way to connect and not feel like you're figuring everything out all on your own.
And it's simple to access. If you're a Numotion Medical Supplies customer, you can log in with your My Numotion account information and start exploring right away.
It's completely free, and everything's in one place at catheters.numotion.com/ally.
Head to the Ally program today and join the conversation.
We'll see you there. Following up with that, and Jake touched on this, we talked about this community in person, but this Ally community, everything that you guys have kind of seen and heard about it, how do you think that it's going to be able to benefit those with spinal cord injuries, and especially those who obviously have to catheterize daily?
I think it's huge just to have a network to lean on. You know, I meet, and I'm sure you guys do too, but I meet, a lot of people who aren't as fortunate as I was with discharging into a community with an adaptive sports program. I meet a lot of people who are discharging to like rural communities that aren't near big cities. They aren't near, anything adaptive sports, anything support group. So to have something centralized that's got, resources like these podcasts, training videos about how to do things, from stuff as simple as, transferring to, cathing, all that stuff. I mean, that's huge. I think, when I first came home, I was Googling things, looking on YouTube, and if I could find a centralized place where I could not only find resources, but I could chat with people who were willing to be open about, what they had gone through or what were the tips and tricks to becoming independent. I mean, that would have been huge for me. Like I said, I was lucky enough to have my adaptive sports community, but meet a lot of people who don't have that opportunity and are probably not going to have that opportunity near where they live. So I think it's huge to have it, within Ally and within a centralized place that anybody can access.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree. And I think it is going to be, and it already is, a great resource for people. And, it's cool, that community as well, because we can kind of chat with each other and bounce off each other's brains, tips and ideas and kind of how to prevent things sometimes. And I know one thing that is always brought up, probably the number one thing when it comes to cathing, is, UTIs. It's something that I feel like everybody's had. If you have a spinal cord injury and you catheterize and stuff like that, do you guys have any go-to tips that when it comes to UTI prevention and keeping those down? I'll start with you, Jake. Is there anything that has helped you?
No, I think just like all I try to do is just don't touch as much as possible. Don't touch anything. Like you want your catheter being obviously like as clean as possible. So grabbing it, touching it in any way, I try to avoid that as much as possible. But like you said tips and tricks, and it made me think of something. Every person that I've told this to, like their jaw hits the floor if they're in the catheter world. But like for a straight catheter, opening the bottom end of it, so you open both ends of the catheter and then use like the actual packaging for your extension tubing, is a huge like independence tip that I've learned. So that way, because like usually if you're using a straight catheter, you're having a urinal or something else that you're having to bring with you. So like opening both ends of the catheter packaging and letting it go through that into the toilet. For me, that like just made me a lot more independent. So that's been like one really big tip or trick I could give you. But as far as UTIs, I would say just be as clean as possible.
Yes, you got a makeshift extension tube there, is what it sounds like, Jake.
Exactly, yeah. And like every time I've talked to a OT or somebody that works with catheters, they're like, that is the greatest idea I've ever heard. And I can't take credit for it. I learned it from rugby guys. But it's been really beneficial for me.
That's a great tip. And how about you, JB? Is there anything that you would recommend, or a type of catheter, like a closed system or anything like that, that you've seen help with preventing UTIs?
Yeah, I mean, obviously closed systems, we're familiar with the fact that they reduce UTIs. It's touchless, it's self-contained. So they're naturally doing what Jake talked about, which is not touching the catheter to anything else. But I mean, beyond that, I had a ton of UTIs when I first got injured. Almost couldn't get beyond having them all the time. So I was on this vicious cycle of antibiotics and then UTI coming back twice as bad when I'd stopped taking the antibiotics. So I just had to kind of figure out a solution that worked for me, because the antibiotic route was not working. So what I found was just using natural supplements. I use D-mannose is a big one that I use. I know a lot of people talk about cranberry tablets or, cranberry extract. So that helps me. If I see the signs and symptoms of a UTI coming on, I'll try to catch it early and, increase my fluid intake. Start taking a little bit of the D-mannose that I've found, which is just I think it's a natural glucose that bacteria attaches to in your bladder, and then it just kind of flows out when you urinate or you cath. So that's worked for me, got me out of the cycle of antibiotics and then UTI right after that. It's twice as bad, like I said. And I always tell people as well, it's a misconception that cathing in itself is causing UTIs, because when I start to get a UTI, I cath more often. I'm trying to flush that bladder out as much as I possibly can. So increasing the fluid intake, cathing more often, and kind of flushing all that bacteria and sediment out of there, and that's worked well for me for a while. I haven't taken an antibiotic for a UTI in over 10 years. And that's not to say I don't get, the start of a UTI, but nothing that's had to be treated in a very long time. So that's kind of my tip and trick that's worked for me. But it took a while to get there. I would get insight from other guys on what they were doing, or and you've just got to take information from everybody and really apply it to yourself and your life and figure out what works for you and what doesn't work for you. But that's been the biggest thing for me, staying hydrated, cathing often, and obviously not touching the catheter to a bunch of other things before it enters the body.
Yeah, like good hygiene is kind of like basic step number one that I think it's kind of a no-brainer, but in case it's not, it's good to remind people, washing your hands and stuff like that. is super important when it comes to cathing. But I'm with you, JB, about just kind of finding what works good for you, and that takes some time. I feel like it took me a solid 5 years to really kind of get down like what's causing these UTIs. It wasn't cathing. For me, it was actually kind of drinking like. So not just alcohol, but like with like sugary drinks. Like sugary drinks, like with alcohol, was a bad one for me.
Yeah, I mean that's a huge thing. When I go in a patient's room and we're talking about UTIs or we're talking about cathing, and I see nothing but like sodas and Gatorades and Red Bulls all over the counter, and we're talking about UTIs. I mean, I got to be the bad guy and say, you got to drink plain old boring water until you get this thing under control, and then you can start dabbling in, the coffee and the drinks here and there, and the, alcoholic drinks. Not to say you can't ever drink again, but I wouldn't jump out of the gate, just slamming beers and drinking Cokes and Gatorades all day, because you're going to have bladder issues.
Yeah, it's something that you just have to be like more thoughtful of. Before I got hurt, when I thought of my routine, because I was in construction, like I'd start off the day with a coffee. Now this is disgusting and unhealthy, but then I'd go to gas station, get some food with some Mountain Dew. Again, this is awful, but I'd drink like a Mountain Dew, then I'd drink another coffee, and then I think I'd drink another Mountain Dew, and then I don't even know about the rest of the day. But that's not like, if I did that now, I mean, it'd put me in a hospital. I mean, I definitely would have to like maybe go on an antibiotic or something like that, but. Just gotta be more aware, like you said. Drink more water. Cranberry tablets seem to be a good one for me. D-Manos, I've heard, is a great one that's worked for people. So, thank you for kind of sharing what works for you guys and some catheter tips there. You guys are fun to bounce those ideas around, since we're in this world. It's like all we do is talk about catheters and with nurses and with patients and stuff like that. So it's awesome to pick you guys' brains. But I appreciate the time that you guys have given us. To wrap things up, I kind of wanted to do a little recap, because this podcast is going to be released in sometime in 2026. But right now, as we're recording, it's actually New Year's Eve. So this is a time that we kind of reflect on 2025 a little bit, and we're thinking about our goals into the new year. So Jake, if you don't mind telling us, recap 2025 for you. What was good, or you've accomplished any goals that you're excited about? What good happened to you? What did you learn? And what are some of your goals that you're looking forward to in 2026?
Yeah, so good stuff. I moved back to Illinois, so I'm back around friends and family, so that's been really good. Started this new job with Numotion. That's been really good. Really looking forward to that coming up in the future, which I guess would be my goal for 2026. I'm trying to kind of dive into this a little bit more. I've been working with some rehab facilities here in St. Louis, so trying to get more involved in that scene and kind of make an impression on more freshly injured spinal cord injury folks. I think that's probably the most exciting part about this job for me, is being able to kind of help people along through that probably the worst experience of their life. So being able to help out through that, kind of why I'm here. So hopefully be able to expand on that and get more involved in that side of this. So
awesome. Well, I look forward to following you along that journey here. And JB, how about you? And please tell us about your 2025, because I've been following you on social media and just as a friend, and I've been excited for you.
Yeah, you're gonna make it sound like I'm actually good at social media, that you've been following. It's pretty sad on there, but you can see the bare bones. Yeah, man. So really exciting for me and my family. My wife and I, we welcomed our first baby girl in February of 25. So that's another one of those things that I get to talk to a lot of new injuries about, and a lot of them are shocked to hear that that you can that they've only been injured for maybe 3 weeks or a month or 2 months, and they haven't had a conversation with anybody yet about, are they going to be able to have kids, are they going to be able to have a relationship or a job. So that's one of those things that I've had fun being able to talk about this year. With some of our customers that I've met when they're first injured, is that we had a baby this year, and it's been great, and biggest thing that's ever happened to myself and my wife, and just kind of getting to share that after a spinal cord injury, because not only do they not know sometimes that that's possible. I mean, there were definitely points along my journey where I didn't know if it was possible. So that was huge for us. As far as 2025 goes, I would say that's the top thing at the list. There is bringing in the new baby girl. So can't believe we're already getting to almost a year old now.
Crazy.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And then anything you're looking forward to in 2026?
Yeah, I would say maybe just the dust settling on that and kind of getting back to doing some routine things. I mean, I'm sure people are going to laugh at that have already had kids, because it's only going to get more chaotic and busy from what I hear. But yeah, I mean, I look forward to kind of getting beyond that big event and getting back to, maybe being a little bit more healthier with what I eat and activity and some workouts here and there, and maybe a little travel. We were kind of grounded the last year or so with my wife, being pregnant and then having a newborn, and navigating that with obviously my spinal cord injury. So it'll be good to get back to kind of doing some of the other things that we enjoy doing this coming year.
That's awesome. No, and that gets me excited, and makes me want to talk to you more too, and pick your brain about how that all is working out, because I think a lot of people with spinal cord injuries and stuff like that, it's something that you think about, possibly having kids, navigating that journey, and kind of what you've learned works good and maybe doesn't work so well and stuff like that. So and for me personally, in 2025, this was my first full year as a catheter rep, for like a through and through January through December. So it was fun. I definitely had learned a lot, and I'm excited to see what 2026 brings. And I was able to go to Hawaii. So we talked about like traveling and stuff like that. I feel like I've been really trying to push myself to travel more these past 2 years. And I know that you guys have done so too. And you learn kind of like tricks and hacks like around the airport, and traveling, tips and, all that good stuff. So that's been fun. And one of my goals as well that I think people will see is I'm hoping to travel over there to Jacksonville and see you in person, JB, and get you on the podcast again. And we'd love to talk more, maybe go a little bit more in depth too, just about your life, but just 2025 in general, with the kid and having a family and stuff like that. We'd love to hear more. And then same with you, Jake. One of these days we'll have to get together and do something. And I'm really looking forward to see what this Ally program does in 2026. I think it's going to do really big things. We just started it. I think it's only been maybe a month or two going, but it's going strong, and it's only going to get better in 2026 as long as we keep having people join it. So if you're watching now, or you're listening and you have some other friends who also has a spinal cord injury, tell them about it. Tell them about these podcasts. Share the link. Send it to them, because we want everybody possible to join, because the more people we have, that's a bigger community that we have online here, and the more people's brains that we're able to pick and kind of be able to talk with one another. So thank you guys so much for joining today. I appreciate it. And we'll see you guys.
Awesome.
Thanks guys. Look forward to it.